Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we are doing a new top 10 list of SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures. You guys have been asking for it for a long time. It's been a while since I made one of these, and so here it is. This is the new version. I thought it would be a good time to do it with the announcement of the new Goku, which looks fantastic. I still might do a video talking just about him before he releases, but I thought now would be a good time before we kind of start this new generation of Figuarts figures to talk about everything that we have so far, or at least the best of the best as I could determine it. There is obviously a lot of subjectivity here, but I tried to base this as objectively as possible on value per dollar, accessories, quality of paint, quality of articulation, that kind of thing. So this is going to be a top 10 list. I do have one honorable mention. It is the newest version of the fourth form Frieza. I believe this is the best overall release of this particular figure. There have been a few, so if you like one of the other ones more, you can go ahead and grab one of those. The accessories vary, paint jobs vary. I think this one looks the best. This figure is the oldest figure on the list by a large margin, and it's still really solid. Could it be improved upon? I think so, and I think we'll see a new Frieza at some point, probably in the near future. But this figure still holds up really well. The paints are really solid. I mean, especially since this is the new paint version. But the articulation works. The only real downside to this guy is he's a little bit hard to stand because he's got that big heavy tail and little body. So the weight issue is kind of a problem. But if you're going to be posing him in the air, he's really good. And he does come with some nice accessories. And like I said, that paint job on this version is really solid. So he's not as good as he used to be in comparison to the other figures because we have a lot of really nice releases since this mold came out. But this is a really good version of that. So if you need a Frieza, this is one you'll want to check out. But let's go ahead and get into the actual top 10 list. Really quick before we get to the top 10, guys, I do need to keep the lights on. So we're going to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Into the AM. They are the wonderful t-shirt people. It's not their slogan, though I am going to submit a petition. They have a whole bunch of new designs. This is one of them. I wanted to show this to you guys. I know it's not going to be able to get to you in time for July 4th. Independence Day, some good old patriotism on a t-shirt right here. But maybe you could wear it for the rest of the summer or next year or just whenever you want to. A lot of new designs other than this, more of the crazy stuff that I normally wear with all the colors and space and stuff like that. Check it out, lots of new designs. There is a link in the description below. It'll save you some money on anything you order, which brings me to the next thing, which is they wanted to show you some of these shirts, which is like just a button front collared, short sleeve, very breathable, light, summery shirt, but something a little bit more formal than maybe the space and colors and everything. They have a few different options for you and more on their website. They're actually very, very, very nice. They're just not as photogenic as this patriotic thing right here. But yeah, they have lots of options, so go check them out. But if you want to save some money, you can bundle the graphic tees, bundle the t-shirts, subscription service, all kinds of options. The best option really is to use my link down there in the description. That'll save money on anything you order. I would check out the graphic tees, but these shirts are wonderful. So check them out. Into the AM, they are the wonderful t-shirt people. Alrighty, coming in at number 10, we have Turlist. Now this figure is one of my personal favorites, but objectively he does have a few issues, and we do have to talk about the issues of a figure on the top 10 list because otherwise it's just going to be saying how great they all are, and I'm not going to be saying anything worthwhile. This will let you know that despite the figure being really good, these are the flaws that you might find in it. And for this guy, he has weird colored knees, they don't match the rest of his body, and his shoulder pads don't work at all for posing, realistically speaking. Otherwise, this guy's pretty darn good. He comes with an energy effect, he comes with the cape, he comes with the fruit, he comes with a really cool paint job. He looks awesome. He does pose well outside of the shoulder pads. He's going to be a great addition. It's a really well bundled figure. Good assortment of accessories. The articulation does work well other than those shoulder pads. And he's one of the best looking figures in the collection, I think. They've done a really good job of creating this guy in 3D form. Coming in at number 9, we have the original Dragon Ball Z Broly. Now, you can pick any of the color versions. They're all the same figure, just with different paint jobs. I happen to like this SDCC version. I like the combo with the green hair and everything, but this figure is still one of my personal favorites. It does have some issues with balance. It has some issues with loose joints in the shoulders, given those giant, heavy arms. It has some limitations in posability due to the skirt piece and due to the bulk and everything, but they did do a really, really excellent job with this figure. It's by far one of the most standout figures that they have released in this line, and considering the challenges of a character design like this, I think they did a really good job. I don't know that they would be able to top it, even if they made a new one today. I mean, this mold's pretty old. They made a new one right now with all their new technology and everything they've learned. I don't know how they could do it much better other than like maybe tighter tolerances for the shoulders or something like that. But given the sculpt and paint job, he does come with blast effects, even though they're kind of small. Really strong release, one of my personal favorites, and objectively it's really darn good. And again, you can pick any of the color versions you want. I have reviewed all of them, but I think this is the best one to go for if you are going for an OG Broly. At number 8, we have the original Son Goku. Now, you could do the repaint version that I just reviewed recently if you want to. They are essentially the same figure. The other one has a new accessory, but I think this one, if you have to pick one, this is the one to go with. It just, to me, feels more like it's from the anime. It doesn't have that metallic hair. It has the painted hair, which I like. It does have the flaws in the painted hair that look like candy corn, but there's just something about this figure. The way it looks, it takes me right back to the anime. And even though this is a pretty old release also, holds up extremely well. It does have some of the newer joints in it, but they did a great job with the sculpt. Paint is good enough. It's there, so it does look good. There's shading in the skin. The skin is a nice matte finish. This is one that stands out on the shelf for sure, not just because it's the torn shirt Super Saiyan Goku, but there's not a whole lot about this figure that they could improve upon. Just like I said with Broly, even though it's older, I don't think they could improve it too much without doing a complete total overhaul of everything that they do, which is basically what they're doing on that new Goku, and that's why it looks so darn good. We'll talk about that in a separate video, but this is the first figure, I think, how I would categorize it, the first figure of the modern wave of Figuarts Dragon Ball figures, and they really started it off with a really strong figure. So definitely pick up this Goku, one of the best figures in the line despite its age. Coming in at number 7, we have the original release of Goku Black, not the redone versions with the different hairs and things. This is the one with the painted pink hair, with the painted shading, no transparency, no metallic, none of that nonsense, just a straight up painted hair. And the reason this guy makes the list, well, there's a few. Primarily, he's got both the black hair and the pink hair. He has 2 different energy effects, and he still poses well and looks good. There are some people who might argue that he has a very short neck. I would say maybe a little bit. I think it's mostly just the clothing that looks that way. But regardless, this figure basically gives you everything you could want. I would say the biggest downside is just that when you use that butterfly joint, you see the color of the sleeve rather than the color of his outer gi or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's not a perfect release. Ankles still kind of suck. But given that you get 2 different sets of heads and the double energy effects, one of the standout releases in the line for sure. You don't get energy effects that often at all, let alone getting 2 of them with both hairs. Get out of here. This is a really good one. And I don't even like the character, and it's one of my favorites. Speaking of characters I'm not a huge fan of, we have number 6, which is Jiren. This is the final battle version of Jiren. You guys can let me know in the comment section below if you like the character or not. For me, there isn't really a character. It's just somebody for Goku to fight who has inexplicable power. That's Jiren's character, basically. Anyway, this figure, it had a couple flaws here and there, but overall, it's one of the best posing and best sculpted figures in the line. It matches the source material really well. It does get an energy effect. It's not the most impressive one ever, but he does get it. He's got shading throughout, a nice matte finish, and like I said, it's got that modern articulation that poses really well. This guy can do a lot of great poses. You can recreate your scenes. It's gonna look good on a shelf. I think mostly though, the matte finish with the shading really seals the deal for this guy. Awesome release. Not a character I'm particularly fond of, but I love the figure, and I think it's an objective enough love that you might love it too. Alrighty, going into number 5, we have the more recent second form Frieza, which I know, I'll mention it again. Everybody mentions it every time I talk about this figure. His face is the wrong color. Yes, it's not as bad in person as it is on camera. It is wrong. You're not wrong. It is wrong. You can live with it in person, or at least I can. I don't notice it as much in person. But even still, if you pose him, you're not going to notice it as much. And this guy does pose really well, and I think they nailed the sculpt. More than anything, you can excuse maybe, if you want to, the paint problems. I'm choosing to. But the sculpt is pretty much spot on. I don't know how they could do it any better other than to fix the weird gapping at the thighs, at the thigh swivel. This guy's great. He poses really well. The shoulder pads work well enough for sure. The tail is whatever. I mean, tails we're going to be debating until the end of the line probably, because articulated tails are a problem always. But as far as they could do this guy well, they did. I would argue probably for some more shading, I guess, but still, it's a standout figure on the shelf. One of the better looking figures in the line for sure. All right, so moving on to number 4, we have the Dragon Ball Super Broly. This is the one where he's in the armor. Bonus points to this guy for having probably the best bright yellow, not the platinum blonde, but the bright yellow Super Saiyan hair. The way they did it on this guy, it is gorgeous. It looks wonderful. And as a nice bonus, you do get the black hair and the yellow hair, so that's something we haven't been seeing a lot lately, so I like to see that. And this guy features a lot of the newer articulation and newer sculpting with more of an organic look to the muscles, and it's really, really well done. He has kind of like a big thigh gap and overly big legs and feet, but you can pose almost all of that away. This guy looks wonderful once he's posed. Really, really good. There are only a few figures that look better than this guy, in my opinion. We're going to talk about those guys in a minute, but there's no way I couldn't include this guy. He has the best version of shoulder pads, of some variety of shoulder pad like this in the line, and then again you get the multiple heads and a wonderful looking figure with good sculpts and great paints. So can't beat it other than if you pick one of these other 3 figures. Coming in at number 3, we have the big brother of that figure, which I don't mean literally. I mean, it's the better version of Broly. This is the full power Broly from Dragon Ball Super. He no longer has his armor on. He's much bulkier. The giant legs and thigh gap suit him a little bit better. But boy, is this guy's anatomy wonderful. I love the organic look to it, and then it just poses so well, and it has that nice flat finish with the shading on it and the neon green hair and the oh man, this is my personal favorite looking figure. Well, okay, my second personal favorite. Yeah, I'll go with second personal favorite of the line. There are 2 more ahead of this objectively, though, that I'll show you. But boy, is this guy wonderful. He does pose really well, and he looks damn good doing it. Just about any pose you put him in, he's going to look good. They nailed the sculpt on the head and the upper body, at least. Even if you don't like the legs, which I get. The upper half is just wonderful on this release. In at number 2, we have, I think, the figure that made number 1 last time I did this list. It is Majin Buu, or Super Buu. This figure is so well executed. I don't think it could be more accurate to the source material. And even with these baggy pants, it poses extremely well. I am pretty sure this guy was number 1 last time. They nailed it. I don't think they could do better, honestly, other than to add more shading. He could have more shading throughout, but he does have some, and he looks great in a neutral pose, in a dynamic pose. There's really nothing you can do to make this figure not look wonderful on the shelf. By far, one of the best overall balanced figures when it comes to the aesthetic, accessories, posability, fun factor, anything you could want in an SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figure, this guy has it. Only one figure in the line, in my estimation, does it even better. And that is going to be our number 1 spot, which is Final Form Cooler. Don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect figure. I know if you go back to my review, you'll see that I noted a few QC type issues and things that could be better, no doubt. However, this guy does have an incredible sculpt, not only just because the character design is so dynamic and awesome looking, but just like that one Broly figure, the full power Broly, they nailed the sculpt on this guy. It looks so good. Basically, no matter how you pose it, it looks wonderful. And to augment that, they did give you some nice shading throughout the skin, and I think it's just wonderful. Yes, you can argue it's the wrong shade of purple or should have more paint in the white, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. This isn't a which figure is perfect list. It's the best of the best. And that doesn't make it mean it's going to have no flaws. It's going to have some, but this guy has very few. And I think what's good there, which is a lot more than makes up for the flaws. So if I had to recommend a single figure, regardless of character or price or anything like that, from this line, it would be this one. And then if it wasn't this one, it would be Buu, or then probably Full Power Broly. I think those 3 are really, really, really great figures. And you could argue that they're interchangeable in the top 3 slots. But I think Cooler probably takes the cake. And so that does it, guys. That is my top 10 list of SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures. Let me know what you think about the ones I picked. If you think anything I mentioned shouldn't have been on the list, or if you think something I didn't mention should have, you can let me know in the comments section below. But I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe in a few years we'll do this again once there's a bunch more releases. But that will do it for now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down will do. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.